welcome inside the broadcast booth, everybody. I'm Joe Buck. In the center field, did he? Yes! His fourth home run of the game. Da-da-da, da-da-da. And here comes the man of the hour, Mark McGwire. Gone! 62! You are the new single-season home run king. Floater, center field. The Diamondbacks are world champions. Boone hits it to deep left. That might send the Yankees to the World Series. Boone, a hero in Game 7. Breeze hits it in the air to center. We will see you tomorrow night. Hard hit into right. Back at the wall. Tie game. Big Puppy. The Giants win the pennant. Drive into left. At the wall. It's gone. Tie game. Rajay Davis. Altuve has just sent the Astros to the World Series. Well, this is when this game is simply at its best. Red Sox fans have longed to hear it. The Boston Red Sox are world champions. What a team. What a ride. The Cardinals are world champs. Ryan makes the play. It's over. And the Cubs have finally won it all.
Man, I'm getting chills. Listen to all the great calls of Joe Buck. Unbelievable broadcaster and a phenomenal human. And congrats to Joe, the 2026 Ford C. Frick Award winner, the 50th winner of this award for excellence in baseball broadcasting. As you bring in Joe right now, JB, the first father-son combo to win the Frick Award. Jack won it back in 1987, and at 56 years of age, you're the second youngest winner of the Frick Award. Vin Scully at 54. I know how humble you can be. I know how self-effacing you can be. But, Joe, we're talking Vin Scully. We're talking about your dad. This is unbelievable, dude.
Yeah, well, you're right about the first part. I see a therapist because of this stuff. I have a tough time accepting all of this. But it's a huge honor. You know, I said it on a conference call with some writers earlier that when my dad went in 1987, it was the happiest I ever saw my father. And it was the first time I ever saw him kind of take a bow, take a moment to look back on all that he was lucky enough to do. And now to join him in there and to look back at, 24 World Series and all the All-Star games and all that stuff. I've been surrounded by great people. I've worked with great partners, whether it's John Smoltz in baseball most recently or 18 years with Tim McCarver, people that made my job easier, great producers, directors, and I had a great dad, and yay for nepotism. It's a good thing. I'm here to tell you.
Well, Joe, I'll tell you, one of the greatest days in my career is my rookie year when Jack Buck came up to me and introduced himself, and I was like in a trance the rest of the day. Jack Buck knows who I am. I couldn't believe it. But, Joe, I was just thinking, we just saw a montage of all your great calls. Is there one in baseball that stands out for you?
I think the first one that I had in a World Series, I never grew up thinking that I would proclaim any team World Series champions. And in 1986, when Charlie Hayes squeezed a foul ball down the third base line and the words just came out of my mouth, the Yankees are champions of baseball. It's nothing I ever planned. It's nothing I ever dreamed of doing. It was surreal then. It still is to think about now. I was 27 at that time, and that, and then the freeze home run, I think, for St. Louis kid to hit a game-winning home run in Game 6 to force a Game 7. Those are probably the two that stand out. But so many moments, so many great times, both on and off the air. And for every, moment where somebody hit a big home run, there was probably a laugh or two that were just as important to me before, during, or after a game. I just love it. I miss it to a certain degree. And I was just so blessed to do it for as long as I did at Fox.
Joe, man, it's Sean Casey. Congrats, dude. I couldn't be more fired up for you and a chance to be, doing what you're doing and all the great things that you have done. And I know being in the booth, it's not an easy thing to do. Sometimes we think it is. Ronnie's there all the time, makes it look easy, as did you. But along the way, what was some of the best advice that you got to become the broadcaster that you became?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think the best answer I can give to that, and there I am, younger, fatter, more hair. There's too much just for men. There's working with a bald guy. There's working with a lunatic. There's more just for men. There's the bald guy again. I think when I started in 1989, in 1989, I was driving to spring training with my dad. And I was about to go, I was 20, I think I was 19 then, and I was about to go to AAA baseball, which was awesome. I worked with a great partner, Jim Kelch, who welcomed me and, kind of gave me credibility before I deserved it. My dad said, you've grown up watching big league baseball. I tried to play, I tried to pitch, I sucked. But he said, if you're watching these guys in the minor leagues and they make an error, or you're watching umpires and they make a bad strike call or ball call, unless you feel personally like you could have made that play 10 times out of 10, or you would have been better behind the plate that day than these people that are trying their best, realize that it's hard what they do. And it looks a lot easier from the broadcast booth, and broadcast accordingly. I think that, and just being a nice guy and trying to treat everybody the right way, and respecting the game. And you can tell stories, and you can try to be funny, or you can, talk about playing golf that morning. Nobody cares. Just do the game and respect each pitch. And if you can do that, you're probably going to be in a pretty good position to succeed.
And along with being a Hall of Fame broadcaster, you wrote a raucously funny book, Lucky Bastard, which, as my brother said, I didn't realize it was a literal title. I'm like, it is. But you talked about my favorite call of your dad's, of course, the Kirby Puckett call, the Game 6, we'll see tomorrow night. And you pointed a portrait why that was such a tough call. The plexiglass, the baseball is white, the homer hankies are white, and he nailed it off the bat, right? And it was such a great call. And then, of course, you paid tribute to it with the David Freese call, which was so immortal when you were battling a serious vocal ailment. Talk about that moment, Freese, your dad. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Yeah, I never really put the ailments together, but my dad, he's in his mid-60s. He was working with Tim. It wasn't really a great pairing. I think both would admit that if they were around today. And it was a stressful time for my dad. And if it was a stressful time for my dad, then it was for our family. And we were all kind of watching. I was in college, and we're watching this happen, these games, and we're all holding our breath, making sure there were no mistakes and making sure he was at his best. And I just remember going, oh my God, just don't mess up that call, because it's hard. It's hard. It was hard at the Metrodome with the plexiglass. And like you said, so, that was one of his best calls of his life. And he made some great ones with the Cardinals, like Go Crazy, Folks, Go Crazy. A great Jack Clark home run call, a Gibson no-hitter, the Kirk Gibson home run on CBS Radio in Game 1 in 1988, on and on. And then I was at the tail end of a vocal cord paralysis I got because of hair transplant surgery, that's why I wrote the book, because it's so ironic and stupid. But that's what happened. And I could barely talk. And and my voice started coming back at about that time. So I squeezed out the words. I won an Emmy that year, literally because of that one call. I should have been fired, but I won an Emmy that year because of one call. And all I was doing was parroting my dad and being a Jack Buck cover band. But I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I had fun with it. I'm glad I paid tribute to him in a great moment in Cardinal history.
He's called more World Series and All-Star games on network TV than any play-by-play man. He's easily one of the funniest guys out there. The great Joe Buck. Loved listening, by the way, Monday Night Football. I wish the Eagles had won, but great commentary on Van Pelt's suit. You had Sully in the booth, and I love when you got Aikman to list all the great Eagles of the early 90s. Reggie White, Jerome Brown, Clyde Simmons, Eric Allen. Listening. Great stuff, man.
Yeah, thank you very much. Don't blame me. I'm sorry.
Richly deserved, Joe.
Lost. Don't blame me. Thank you very much. Thanks, guys.
Congrats to the great Joe Buck. He is now officially a Hall of Famer. He'll be inducted into Cooperstown. Awesome for Joe and for his wife, Michelle, and the entire family. This week on the MLB Network, we'll be honoring Joe Buck. That's right, the sounds of baseball. Bob Costas and Tom Verducci do a phenomenal job with this. They'll look back at some of the wonderful calls of Joe's career.